Hey guys, welcome back to another video here at alliseeisW, where we talk about finance, stocks, and Bitcoin. Today, I wanted to just go through the overall Bitcoin mining updates. We saw a lot of movement, especially with the rise in the price of Bitcoin hovering above the $100,000. We saw a lot of the miners today announce lots of news. Today, I wanted to cover the overall market as well as talk about a Bitcoin mining company, CleanSpark, CLSK. While we saw a number of Bitcoin mining stocks in the green zone, for example, we saw Hut 8 in the green. We saw Deer as well as Riot going up, but we continue to see CleanSpark go down. I'll go through updates with CleanSpark. Is now a good time to buy more CleanSpark shares? Is it a hold? Is it time to sell? We'll talk more about what my price forecast is from a fundamental and technical analysis, as well as going through recent company announcements for CleanSpark. Now, if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you supporting with the like and subscribing for more related content. First off, let's begin by looking at the technicals here. So we're looking at CleanSpark's technical chart here. So just from a zoomed out perspective, back in 2021, we saw the potential of what CleanSpark was able to do. In fact, it ran up to about $42 at the time back in 2021. So when you look at it in hindsight, around December 4 years ago, this is when we saw the bull run go up in parallel with the rise in the Bitcoin price from the last historical run up of Bitcoin. Now, if we follow the historical trends, we're anticipating that the ramp up will begin this month. And if it does follow, great, we'll continue to see the miners go up. But what's really annoying is, especially with CleanSpark, just in the recent days, while we saw, CleanSpark doing well in the early months of 2024, like February timeframe, we saw it at around $23. March timeframe, we saw it reach $24, but it's just been hitting descending resistance over the last couple of months here. And it was up until the recent news with Trump being elected as the president early November, we started seeing light at the end of the tunnel with CleanSpark. However, just with the recent days, it's been very tough seeing the ups and the downs with CleanSpark. And now just today, hovering at like 1233, there's been a lot of disappointment going on, but I think it's a great opportunity to continue dollar cost averaging down. Let's say if you are a holder of CleanSpark, or if you're considering buying a high-end company like CleanSpark, I think now's a great opportunity to buy low. Even though we saw the nice run up in the early of the year, while we see the price go down, I think that just come this month, we can see this share price test itself. I'm thinking perhaps even $18, $20 in the month of December. But as we head into the new year, I don't think it's going to remain this low, especially if it follows the Bitcoin cycle. I think Bitcoin is going to break through that $150,000 range. Just knowing that there's only about, less than 15 or less than 1.5 million Bitcoins out there to mine, there's only a finite number. Law of economics is going to apply, and a company like CleanSpark will benefit, especially with their high-end efficiency rate and their high-end throughput at mining. They're like number two with mining right now. Their HODL is like at number three out of all the miners. But most of you are wondering what's driving the price down. I think there's been a lot of market manipulation going on here. So if we just scale back on a 1 month range here, there's just been that recent bleed out. I mean, descending resistance going on here. But I think that just looking at it from a zoomed out perspective here, what from a technical standpoint here, I mean, we see this gravitational pull, especially with the Ichimoku clouds above the current price dragging down the overall price range. But just from a year to date perspective, long-term approach, good news is we see that the price is above the clouds, and hopefully we continue to see an upward trend here. Um, just heading into, towards the later phase of December and into 2025. So I'm thinking from a share price standpoint, it's definitely undervalued at this time. I don't think that it's going to remain at this low point, and we're going to start seeing it test its prior resistance back in February, March, hitting that $24 range, early January, perhaps. But you never know; it can run up even more. But I think that now's the time to buy in, especially if you have that conviction in CleanSpark or if you're considering buying shares of CleanSpark. I think, now is a good price range, especially at $12 range here. Just to go through the recent news with CleanSpark. So just today, CleanSpark announced a proposed private offering of 550 million of convertible notes. So we've seen a lot of announcements going around in the Bitcoin mining sector. We've seen this with Riot. We've seen this with, just BitDeer, with Hut 8 having that announcement of speculation working potentially with Meta on their HPC AI platform. So CleanSpark announced this information today with this 500 million aggregate principal amount of convertible senior notes due in 2030. So loans that they're taking out will not have accrued interest until like 2030. So what is CleanSpark going to be doing with this money that they're borrowing? So the good news is that with this loan that they're taking out, that's not going to result in dilution of their shares, similar to ATMs. But what they will be doing is that they'll be using about 125 million of their net proceeds to repurchase shares of company stock. And I think this is what is going to attract more investors, as well as what they're focused on to cut down on the company's line of credit with Coinbase. So CleanSpark is partnered with Coinbase with that line of credit. So they're going to cut down that line of credit, pay Coinbase back, and then focus on potential acquisitions out there. So I think that with CleanSpark, because they are such an efficient company, I think they're trying to get away from that HODL approach, focus on increasing their mining throughput, and then use that money, pay off that line of credit, and have some acquisition deals, including that share buyback. I think that's such a great strategy, that share buyback, that will really attract investors because that just shows that they understand from a risk implication. They want to make their shareholders happy, not dilute their shares. And I think overall, that's really going to have a CleanSpark benefit. And from that, I think the share price is going to start going up from a fundamental perspective. And just to note, I mean, just looking at CleanSpark's data, I mean, just to keep in mind that their November data, they were able to mine 622 Bitcoins and achieve daily production of over 21 Bitcoins per day. We know that there's around 450 Bitcoins out there that can be mined per day with the rewards that Bitcoin miners are given. But this is a high throughput when you compare it to other Bitcoin miners. So the other Bitcoin miner right now that's ranked number one with mining production per day would be Mara. So CleanSpark is like number two right now when it comes to production efficiency, throughput, and overall with their HODL. I think that because they have a high HODL as well, we can't just exclude CleanSpark. I mean, they're like at number three with their HODL number out of all the miners, but overall their fleet efficiency at 19 joules per terahash, that's just solid. But when you compare it to other miners, of course, you got to give it to Iron for their fleet efficiency. But just month end operating hash rate at 33.7, that's one company that has a high hash rate throughput. When you compare it to like Mara, they're like at 48 at the end of last week, but now they're at 50. But just comparing the hash rate though, I mean, CleanSpark at 33.7, but able to mine 622 Bitcoins in that month, that is just huge. I think that just overall CleanSpark with their mining capabilities, housing S21 Pro miners, that's why their fleet efficiency is so good because they have S21 devices working for their fleet with the latest generation S21 immersion XPs. So because they have the latest and greatest technology, I think that CleanSpark has that potential to break out. We know that CleanSpark has been just leading the Bitcoin mining industry with a proven track record. And I think with their low cost, high reliability energy, that's really going to allow for them to shine. Even though their share price today, it's been hit so much by the market makers. And I think there's been a lot of puts going on right now, but what goes down quickly will eventually bounce back up. So I think that CleanSpark is going to bounce up, even though we see other Bitcoin miners doing much better right now, like Hut 8 with their potential partnership with Meta in AI HPC, and then BitDeer having that $1 billion convertible note that was announced. And uh, during the stock market trading today, it went up 20%, but it started going down towards the end of the market when the price of Bitcoin started going down. And Riot announced just recent announcements as well. So there's been a lot of news going around in the mining industry, whether there's going to be an evolution towards getting into HPC AI. So it'll be interesting to see how CleanSpark will be using that convertible note in addition to paying off that line of credit, looking at potential acquisitions and then share rebuybacks to prevent dilution. That's all going to come into play. But overall, just looking at some analyst forecasts here. So JP Morgan Chase, they upgraded the CleanSpark's price here, and even other companies having it set to like $24, $27, $23, 26, $22. So definitely these price targets are way above the current value of CleanSpark. So I definitely see there's that easy 1x potential. But when you look at it from a long-term perspective, I think in like the month of February, March, we can see this, just easily climb up to like 3 to 5x potentially with CleanSpark. So now is the time. It's undervalued. And of course, when you do make investments, please always do your research, take my information as guidance, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are with CleanSpark. What's your price target and how other Bitcoin miners are doing? Thank you guys.